Some people think having high EQ means being perfectly calm or stoic. In reality, someone with high emotional intelligence feels more deeply and manages those emotions effectively. People who barely feel anything can appear calm and in control, which is often mistaken for high EQ, but it's actually the opposite. High EQ is about having emotional depth, empathy, understanding, and self-control. It's not just about not showing feelings, because people with shallow emotions can do that easily. And one of the strong signs of low EQ is actually having shallow emotional experiences. That's why some people with low EQ, who don't show much emotion, often use that as an excuse to say they have great emotional control, and therefore have high EQ. Then they go on to mock those higher EQ who feel more, concluding they lack emotional control. In reality, someone with high EQ experiences emotions more deeply and on top of that, have the power to let their emotions guide them properly and also manage them effectively. When you have shallow emotions to begin with, of course there's little to control. Calmness alone isn't a sign of emotional intelligence. Additionally, being unable to understand own emotions will also cause a lot of harm, often without the low EQ person even realizing it. Dismissiveness, repression, projection, avoidance, shallowness, these are not signs of maturity or stability. They are classic symptoms of low EQ and are harmful to not just people around them, but to themselves. Yet many people have it backwards. On the surface, these behaviors can look like high EQ, because they avoid open displays of emotion, something a lot of people have been conditioned to fear and pathologize. People with low EQ usually don't realize they have it, their introspective lens is underdeveloped. They assume someone showing strong emotions lacks control, when in reality they are witnessing emotional literacy in action. They think they have empathy just because they follow social scripts like, that must be hard, without actually feeling it. Show emotional intensity, and the response is often, too much, unstable, low EQ. Suppress yourself, and you destroy the very core that enables real empathy, courage, and conscience. What some people call maturity is often misconstrued to begin with, and is just a widespread comfort with repression and avoidance, which ultimately cause harm. And projection is when someone can't deal with an uncomfortable truth in themselves, so they displace it onto someone else. They feel cowardly for not standing up for what's right. Or ashamed for letting something eat them up internally but never articulating it. Or jealous of someone who can think, feel, and speak so intensely and clearly. So instead of processing that shame, they mock, dismiss, or pathologize the person who does what they wish they could. They call them too emotional because they are too afraid to feel. They say, let it go, without actually understanding the bigger picture and depth, because they can't stand being reminded of how much they've swallowed. They call it low EQ because they define EQ as emotional inoffensiveness, not emotional courage. So ironically, those who claim to have high EQ, because they say that they are able to let things go easily, are often emotionally unavailable, avoidant, resentful, and complicit in injustice, which all only perpetuate harm to not just people around them, but to themselves. And some of them deeply resents those who refuse to be dulled down, because those people remind them of their own weakness and submission. Some people use dark humor for social signaling, then genuine understanding and appreciation for that type of humor, they use it to show that they're intelligent, worldly, or emotionally unshakable. But beneath that, it reveals something else, the way a person relates to suffering, both their own and others. They use dark humor as a cover for emotional dullness, and a disguise for their inability or refusal to feel empathy. They wear that as a form of armor and call it wit. And because dark humor has been popularly linked to high intelligence, some with low emotional awareness or low EQ latch onto it to show off that they're intelligent. They equate emotional detachment with depth and mistaking cruelty for intellect. When someone with genuine intelligence and emotional depth engages with dark humor, it's for a different reason. They don't laugh at real suffering, nor find pleasure in others' pain. They laugh at darkness as a concept, as metaphor, as fiction, as a mirror to life's absurdity. Their laughter is philosophical, not predatory. They can hold the darkness without glorifying it. They don't laugh at people's pain, they laugh at the idea of pain, at the absurdity of existence itself. Their humor is a way of facing darkness, not feeding on it. Those with low empathy and low self-awareness, however, tend to treat dark humor as a badge of superiority. Their laughter isn't an exploration of truth, it's used as a declaration of status. They believe that being unbothered by suffering makes them sophisticated. In reality, it reveals a lack of empathy, and a brittle ego masquerading as detachment. Absurdist humor, by contrast, reflects a different form of intelligence, as it draws on divergent thinking and comfort with non-classical logic. It finds comedy in chaos, meaning in nonsense, and peace in uncertainty. It requires creativity, emotional flexibility, and comfort with ambiguity, traits the fake smart persona often lacks. When confronted with absurdist humor, such people frequently react with discomfort and disdain. They demand to close the loop where none exists, mistaking such nonlinearity in the joke for stupidity. Unable to tolerate the openness of paradox, they mock the absurdist as crazy or mentally ill. Their rejection of absurdity is telling. It exposes an inflexible mind that craves control and fears ambiguity. Absurdist humor, then, quietly exposes who's truly intelligent and who's simply performing. The person who can laugh at chaos without cruelty, who can find beauty in the irrational, demonstrates a higher form of awareness. They don't fear meaninglessness, they dance with it.